I flew 5,000 miles to surprise my dad for Thanksgiving after secretly clearing his $60,000 debt. But when I showed up at the door, he told me to leave. That night, I did something no one in my family saw coming. Night in Tokyo. Neon lights bleed softly through the hotel window, casting streaks of blue and gold across the room. Nathan sits quietly at the edge of the bed, his blazer draped loosely over a chair. The distant hum of the city below is barely more than a whisper now. Nathan scrolls through photos on his phone, snapshots from the family party earlier tonight. Smiling faces, glasses clinking, laughter frozen in time. Yet in every image, he seems apart, like a shadow lingering at the edge of joy. He exhales, placing the phone face down on the nightstand. His eyes are tired, their brightness dulled. A furrow crosses his brow, as if something unsaid weighs heavy on his mind. Leaning forward, elbows on his knees, Nathan stares at the carpeted floor, as if searching for an answer hidden in the fibers. Then, barely above a whisper, he speaks. Maybe it's time to stop pretending. Silence. Nathan's hand hovers over his phone again, hesitating. His thumb lingers over a strange icon, deep red, unnamed. He taps it. The screen flashes. Then, darkness. Nathan closes his eyes in the hotel room, and the silence swallows him whole. His mind drifts, not backward by choice, but because the past refuses to stay buried. San Francisco. 2 years ago. A tiny apartment lit only by the soft blue glare of a laptop screen. A half-eaten takeout box on the desk. Nathan hunched over the keyboard, eyes bloodshot, fingers moving on autopilot. 3:12 a.m. Every night blurred into the next. Weekends didn't exist. Holidays meant nothing. Just endless code, desperate investor pitches, and cup noodles in the dark. His startup, his only shot, was failing slowly and loudly. He didn't talk about the second job. About the shower floor where he cried, quietly, so his roommates wouldn't hear. But he kept wiring money back home. For rent. For groceries. For his little brother's school fees. Then the call came. The bank was going to take the house. Without hesitation, he emptied everything, drained his savings, cashed out what little stock he owned, maxed out 2 credit cards, and sent $60,000 to save the home his father built. No one knew. Not even his father. No thanks. No questions. Just silence. And still, that night, Nathan smiled. Not because it felt heroic, but because, for once, he could sleep. The $60,000 was gone with a click. Nathan sat still in the quiet kitchen, staring at his phone screen, the transfer confirmation glowing like a receipt for something he couldn't return. He waited. An hour. A day. A week. No message. No call. Just a void where a thank you might have been. Maybe he's just overwhelmed, Nathan told himself. Maybe Dad doesn't know how to say it. Maybe silence is his way of coping. But doubt crept in at night. Quiet, persistent. Was it even worth it? Did anyone even notice? Nathan tried to move on. He buried himself in work again. More meetings. More failed pitches. More nights staring at the ceiling, wondering if he had done the right thing. One afternoon, as he walked through the airport heading to another city, another pitch, another maybe, he noticed a letter sticking out of his backpack pocket. It wasn't there before. Unfolding it, he recognized his father's handwriting immediately. Just a single page, folded in thirds. It didn't say, "Thank you." Not exactly. But it told a story. Of a man too proud to ask for help. Too broken to say he needed it. And too moved to speak, once it came. Nathan stood still in the middle of the terminal. People passed around him in waves. For the first time in years, he felt seen. Nathan stood at the departure gate, a bouquet of sunflowers cradled in one arm, Dad's favorite. In the other, a takeout box carefully wrapped in foil, still warm, roasted chicken, just the way his father liked it, crispy skin, lightly seasoned, no gravy. It had been 2 years. 2 years of silence, of distance padded with good intentions and unspoken words. Now, just a 3-hour flight stood between him and the front door of a house that hadn't felt like home in a long time. He wasn't sure what to expect. Would Dad be waiting by the window? Would his brother show up? Would anyone say anything at all? Nathan tried to focus on the logistics, the boarding time, the seat number, the warm smell of chicken rising into his face. But his heart beat faster with every step closer to the gate. What if it's awkward? What if the silence is still there? What if this was all a mistake? Yet underneath the nerves was something else. A tiny flicker. A boyish hope. Maybe things could change. Maybe the past didn't have to hold them hostage forever. The boarding announcement echoed overhead. Nathan tightened his grip on the flowers, shifted the food into his bag, and took a deep breath. This was it. No more maybes. Just movement. Forward. He stepped onto the plane. The door creaked open, and there he was, his father. Older. Smaller. Grayer. But the eyes were the same, sharp, unreadable. Nathan stood there with the sunflowers and the roasted chicken, suddenly unsure what to say. For a second, neither moved. No hug. No smile. Not even a nod. Then, his father spoke, flat and distant. You should have called first. Behind him, the house buzzed with life. Laughter, voices, the clinking of dishes. Nathan glimpsed balloons tied to chairs, a cake on the counter, and familiar faces. Cousins, neighbors, even his younger brother, gathered around a table that looked like it was meant for someone's birthday. But not his. They hadn't expected him. Hadn't saved him a seat. Nathan swallowed hard. The flowers now felt heavy in his arms. The chicken had cooled. I was in town, he managed to say, voice almost a whisper. Thought I'd surprise you. His father didn't respond. Just glanced backward and muttered, We've got guests. Nathan nodded slowly. The hope he'd carried all this way began to crumble in his chest. He stepped back, forcing a tight smile, then held out the sunflowers. For Mom, he said. His father took them wordlessly, turned, and closed the door without another word. Nathan hadn't made it halfway down the walkway when he heard the familiar voice behind him. Mr. Sato, the retired police officer from next door. Nathan, the man called out, approaching cautiously but firmly. Your father asked me to make sure you leave. Nathan turned, caught off guard not by the words, but by how quietly they were delivered. No anger. Just the steady tone of a man doing someone else's hard job. He nodded, not even surprised anymore. Mr. Sato paused. He said it's not the right time. That emotions are complicated. Nathan managed a tight smile. They always are. He looked down at the sunflowers in his hand, still fresh, still beautiful. The chicken now cold, still wrapped neatly in foil. No one had yelled. No one had cursed. Yet everything stung more than if they had. Without another word, Nathan turned away. He didn't ask why. Didn't plead. He just walked, slow and steady, the food and flowers clutched tightly to his chest like offerings never accepted. Behind him, the door never reopened. As Nathan walked away from the house, memory crept in, not loud, but constant, like waves wearing down stone. He remembered the night Miles called, voice trembling with hope and fear. I've got this idea, his younger brother had said, but I need a little capital. Nathan wired the money within hours, no questions asked. Months later, the startup launched. Everyone clapped for Miles. No one asked where the seed money came from. Then Camille, sweet, stubborn Camille, crying outside her dorm room because tuition had gone up again. Nathan paid it in full the next morning. She texted back only 3 words, "You're the best." That message had never been followed by a call. After Mom died, it was Nathan who stayed up researching grief counselors for their father. Nathan who arranged the cremation. Nathan who sent flowers on the anniversary, every year, without fail. Yet every year, when the family group photo circled online, Thanksgiving, Christmas, even random birthdays, he wasn't in it. He wasn't forgotten. He was excluded. Quietly, efficiently. The family had become something that grew around his absence, like vines growing over a missing brick in the wall. He had given them everything, but no space had ever been kept for him. The hotel room was quiet, except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. Nathan opened his laptop with the mechanical rhythm of someone performing a ritual. His fingers moved without hesitation. He clicked on a file buried deep in a folder named Archived, as if even his computer knew it was something to be hidden. Familyrequests.xlsx. The spreadsheet opened slowly. Row after row, date after date, request after request. $4,000, Camille's tuition increase. $1,200, Miles' startup license. $800, Dad's medication. $2,000, emergency home repairs. A quiet litany of giving year after year. At the bottom, a final tab, total given, $87,540. Nathan stared at it, not with pride or regret, but with a numb kind of grief. He opened a new browser tab, logged into an anonymous forum. His hands hovered over the keyboard. Then he began typing. I've spent years being the invisible backbone of a family that doesn't acknowledge me. I paid their bills, their tuition, their hospital visits. I missed weddings, holidays, birthdays, just so they wouldn't have to worry. Tonight, I stood at my father's door, holding sunflowers. He told me, "You should have called," and closed the door. He paused, breathed in, then hit post. Nathan didn't expect much. Maybe a handful of strangers would read his post, scroll past it, forget it. But by morning, his phone vibrated with a steady, low buzz. Notification after notification. The post had gone viral. 42,000 upvotes. 8,900 shares. Hundreds of comments every minute. People wrote with rage, empathy, sorrow. You deserved so much better. This broke my heart. I see you. I was you. One comment stood out, highlighted, pinned by the platform itself. A psychologist wrote, "Emotional exploitation often hides under the label of family duty. Just because they share your blood doesn't mean they have the right to bleed you dry." Nathan stared at those words. He read them again. And again. For the first time in years, he didn't feel crazy. He didn't feel invisible. He didn't feel alone. Outside the window, Tokyo was waking up. But something inside Nathan had just started to settle. Not peace, not yet. But a small space had cleared, for truth, maybe even healing. The post had only been up for 2 days, but it was already everywhere. Cross-shared in online forums, tweeted by influencers, even featured on a mental health podcast. The internet wasn't just watching. It was listening, feeling, grieving with him. By 4 p.m., Miles finally called. Nathan stared at the screen before picking up. His brother's voice was ragged, panicked. "You're ruining our name, Nate. Everyone at church is talking." Camille's boss forwarded the post to Aisha. "Dad is furious. You need to take it down. Now." Nathan didn't respond. The silence made Miles stutter. "I mean, we didn't know you felt that way. But airing it like this? Online?" Nathan ended the call. Minutes later, a voice message came in from his father. 32 seconds long, low and cold. "You've always been dramatic. You want people to feel sorry for you? No one asked for your help. You chose that life. Don't blame us now." Nathan listened. Twice. Then sat back in his chair. His breathing was slow, but his thoughts raced. It wasn't just disappointment anymore. It was detachment from the role he had been forced to play. He opened a browser, booked a one-way ticket. This time, there would be no flowers, no roast chicken, no carefully rehearsed hope. Only a suitcase. And a man ready to speak the truth, even if no one wanted to hear it. The dining room had never felt this quiet. 7 chairs filled. Nathan stood. In front of him, his father at the head of the table, arms crossed. Miles and Camille sitting stiffly, not touching their food. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all invited, all present, all silent. Nathan placed a thick folder on the table. It landed with a dull thud. Eyes followed. He opened it slowly. Pulled out printed bank transfers, tuition receipts, mortgage payments, utility bills in someone else's name. Each one labeled, dated. Each one signed. Then, without theatrics, he laid out a notarized copy of the $60,000 loan his father had defaulted on, and the receipt showing it was paid in full, by him. "This isn't revenge," Nathan said, voice even. "It's release. Mine. From the weight I carried in silence. And yours, from pretending it never happened. No one spoke. His father's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. Camille looked down. Miles blinked fast, his fork frozen midair. I didn't come here to punish anyone, Nathan continued. But I won't keep pretending I was never there. That I was just the guy who sends money and disappears. He paused, then looked straight at his father. You said no one asked me to help. You're right. No one did. But when Mom died and we stood at her grave. He swallowed hard. You didn't have to ask. I stepped in because I loved this family. I still do. But love without recognition becomes servitude. The silence cracked, not with words, but with breath. Someone exhaled sharply. A fork clinked against porcelain. Nathan didn't wait for permission. He stood tall, took a breath and walked out of the room, leaving the folder behind. Back in his hotel room, Nathan sat cross-legged on the bed, laptop open. The screen displayed a list of recurring transactions: tuition subsidies, auto deposits to his father's account, monthly rent for Miles' workspace. Quietly, methodically, he began to cancel each one. Unlink. Confirm. One by one, the threads were cut, not with bitterness, but with finality. He closed a shared Google Drive folder named Family Budget. Then deleted the auto alerts from his banking app. He opened one last note, a list titled Things I Owe Myself, and smiled faintly. Hours later, Nathan stood at the airport terminal, boarding pass in hand, sunflower in his backpack, now slightly wilted, but still bright. Through the large glass panels, planes drifted against a fading sky. Tokyo waited on the other side, not with answers, but with space. And right now, space was all he needed. As he settled into his seat, the flight attendant offered a polite smile. Nathan returned it, softer, but genuine. For the first time in years, he felt light. Not because the past was gone, but because he'd stopped dragging it behind him. His phone vibrated, a text from Miles. So this is it? He didn't reply. Instead, he stared out the window, into the clouds, into the quiet. Family isn't who shares your name, his voiceover came gently. It's who respects your boundaries. The screen faded to black. The hum of the plane filled the silence. Sometimes, love means leaving. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. You're not selfish for protecting your peace, you're brave for finally choosing it.